And if you're just joining us, welcome to the second hour of the Sunday Scoops. And we're today featuring, in the first half, we had David Carroll. You can always go back to our archives and watch it again. And then for the second half, we're featuring International Women's Month, Women in Reggae. And today we're featuring none other than Sister Rita Marley.
I refer to her as the Marley family matriarch.
Yeah, man. And we played at the very beginning, hold on to this feeling, and there will always be music. And that's the way Jaja planned it. 1980, and that was on it. Who feels it knows the album.
So just for context and provide a little bit of background, of course, Rita Marley has been accorded to the Order of Distinction and Order of Jamaica, so Honorable Alpharetta Constantina Marley. She was born Alpha Rita Constantina Anderson in Santiago, Cuba, or Santiago de Cuba, to Leroy Anderson and Cynthia Vida Jarrett. Of course, her parents moved to Kingston, Jamaica when she was 3 months old. And she described in her memoir, which we recommend, is recommended reading. We also recommend that you go see the Marley movie, One Love. She grew up in Trenchtown with her aunt after her parents separated. And it was in the course of that sojourn in Trenchtown, that she met one Nesta Robert Marley. By the way, you know it's Nesta Marley name first.
Yeah.
Nesta Robert Marley. She said the birth certificate when them mix up his name and put Robert thing, but his mother christened him Nesta Robert Marley. And the rest, as we know it, is history. And so we're gonna use the next we have almost an hour to look at Rita's role as a reggae artist, as an influencer in the music, one of the most successful females to traverse the arduous career of being a reggae artist in Jamaica 60s. And coming out of the 1960s. She, of course, is the center, if you will, despite all of the controversies and the negative press and she is without a doubt a center of the what is the Marley universe, and we're gonna take some time to look at her career.
Yeah, at a young age, she joined a group called the Soulettes before she even ventured into the Wailers thing. And I can play a song from the Soulettes, a song called Why Should I? And not only was she a big bad singer in the group of the Soulettes, but later on when they did back up from Bob, they had their own little group. Judy Maud, I was a little group, they had their own group. Judy, Marcia, and Rita with the I3s. Yeah, man. Let me tell you, Richie. And there's some people who are of the opinion that she's not that great of a singer. Me, Rita has some big tune. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's Rita Marley. She has some big tune with me and Joy. And some of them, a little bit, a lot of people don't know them, like a song called Play Play. But the more popular one, I say her biggest hit is the one produced by Grub Cooper, One Drop.
But listen, she had a career of her own. In fact, she had her career spanned the Soulettes, as you pointed out. She stood in for when they had arrested Bunny Wailer in 1968, and Bunny did a little stretch for possession of ganja, and she replaced him on the Wailers, and that's kind of jumping the gun. She was always connected with the Wailers group from as early. In fact, it was Peter who introduced her to Bob, right? And there is all kind of stories surrounding that. We won't get into the innards of it. But the point is, through that connection, she started, her connection with Bob, and especially to when Bob left and um, you know, went away for a little bit. I think it was just about a year. He went to Delaware. She was also standing in with the Whalers as well. So the Soulettes, and then as the I Trees, as a member of the I Trees, and of course, as you rightly pointed out, God, her own career. She may not have been exhaustive because especially those last three, but they would have gotten on as Whalers when Bonnie and Peter left the group as Whalers.
Right.
And so, in fact, they were touring when Bob basically drafted them in, and it made a famous comment that anybody would stand behind.
But interestingly too, they backed up Big Youth before they even backed up Bob. All three women, and then there's a famous concert that was at Madison Square Gardens,
Right.
that they performed behind Big Youth. So they were doing their own thing, way before the Bob Marley thing, when they came in as the Three Little Birds.
So we want to spend that the next the time
45 minutes.
Yeah, just to retrace our steps. We want to look at her influence on the Marleys after Marley transited, and where we are now, where she is, the head of one of the most successful music family to come out of Jamaica, and one of the most successful musical family in the history of popular music.
Richard, it's not even just a musical family. It's a musical family. We think about the Osmonds and the
You're talking about
Partridge
the dynasty. You're talking about, yes.
When we think about them, it's a dynasty, because not only are the immediate kids doing music,
the
but the
grandkids
grandkids
and the great
and the
grandkids.
grandkids.
Yeah.
And they're and you know what I love about it, Richie? It's not even the fact that they're just doing it and living off the Marley name. They're talented. When I listen to a Joe Mercer Marley song, or a Damian Jr. gang, or a Joe, Steve is a whiz in production and as an accomplished artist himself. I remember I was in the Bob Marley studios when they were doing the Power to Movie album, and the one song, I mean, Power to Movie was good, and a couple of them, but Stephen's song, Oil and Water Can Mix, that is my favorite song on the album. I'm just saying that to illustrate that the kids are just as talented and doing absolutely fantastic. And of course, Cinderella is a wizard businesswoman. It's amazing. She has done very well in raising these kids.
I think we want to look too at, because your origin is what Rita really represents. Certainly from my own perspective, is that is a testament to the adage that you're not responsible for where you're coming from, but you're certainly responsible for where you will ultimately end up. And so it is utilizing all of the what is afforded to you to make the delivery in terms of where you finally end up. And so when you consider that in the early years of the Whalers, Bob Marley and the Whalers, the Whalers went down to Federal Records to try to cut a record, and them run them away. You remember that, run them away, tell them, where not go, and over time, the tough gang, the gang himself would have bought Federal Records premises and turned it into what is known as Tough Gang.
Right.
And all of this is under the auspices of Rita, because she was the one who was holding the thing together. She was the one who was able to smell out some of the skullduggery that was going on within the management of the Whalers operation.
Mm-hmm.
She was very, very, very involved in ensuring that the business side of the music was
Still,
maintained.
yes, yes.
And I think, you know, she came into her own in the latter years in terms of how this the kind of way she stewarded this. But all of the, you know, at the same time, while she's being, you know, a wife, a family woman, a mother,
a businesswoman,
she is also looking at her own musical career, and in the course of which she, you know, she put out quite a bit of music, uh, some of which I'm sure you will share with the listeners in terms of, you know, where her career took her from a music standpoint.
yeah, man. 1981, the year that Bob Marley transitioned, she did a wicked, wicked tune, you know, and this is called, what I like with this song, so it's a segue from what I played. That's the way. And then this is another showing how deeply rooted she is in her faith as a Rasta woman, and you know, trusting that every little thing's gonna be all right. Yo, let me tell you, man. One of the things about these songs is her deep Rastafarian faith. You can just hear it. When you look at, that's the way Jaja planned it. You know, the beauty of God's plan. A Jaja. Yeah.
As it talking about her faith, if you recall, it was she who actually introduced Bob to Rasta.
Yeah, she said she got a vision when His Imperial Majesty visited Jamaica. She got an epiphany.
And she said she shared it with, because Bob was away, and she spoke to him on the phone and was explaining to her the impact of, according to her, the two of them eyes met. She and Selassie, and he waved his hand, and she saw whatever it was in his hand.
The stigmata.
Yeah. And so Bob was a little bit
hesitant.
Yeah.
And
trying to figure out.
introduced him to Mortimer Plant.
Yes. And who became his
That was
spiritual advisor.
The cement and the glue.
So, but I think what is significant to hear, God, is understanding her role. That she was without a doubt Bob's confidant. He was, you know, there was no necessarily any in terms of direction, any secret between them in terms of where they want to go. And in fact, one of the things we saw in the movie is her constant reminder to Bob of the journey that him have. This is a task.
Reminding that he's a messenger.
And you are the messenger. And you're the vessel that Jack put to deliver this message. And so even when Bob's faith was kind of, you know, shaking, she was basically that foundation that kind of kept him propped up and so on. And so, you know, from this perspective, her role as sort of the foundation on which the Marley empire was built.
Because after a while, it has now become her vision.
It became right. So she was constantly reminding Bob to stay focused, no matter what it might. In fact, when he was in exile and he decided by the man of pressure him to go back, and she said, you know what it is? That is your calling. So you need to come back to Jamaica, and all of the steps, the paces that he was taking to lay this foundation, especially after he had gotten shot and he was now fighting with his faith, what is the direction? Am I on the right path? And she tell him, she said, you will find a way. You just need to stay the course. We're never coming on this thing for our overnight thing.
Yep.
Right?
We're in it for the long haul.
And so I think it is fitting, God, that we have Rita Marley to kick off this segment of this woman's international woman in reggae segment, because she is without a doubt the matriarch of the music at this level. Eh?
Yep. She's carrying a huge mantle, and 1981, I think, was her busiest year. That's when she did the Who Feels It Knows It album. And, yeah, and that album have a ton of hits. Trust me. That's the way Jaja planned it. Play. Jaja. And this one that's going to take us to the break. Thank you, Ja. Yeah, man, and we're back. So, I would love if we could have spoken to her. And, it would have been a blessing. But, this is what it is.
But work we can get, right? So,
which is me and you.
I don't think we do too bad. Anyway. But, Rita had 3 kids with Bob. All told, she had 6 children. Sharon Marley, who was born on November 23rd in 1964. Bob would later, when they got married in 66, he would adopt Sharon, as his own child. And then together they had Sidella, who was born on August 23, 1967. Ziggy, David Nestor Marley, born the 17th of October, 1968. And then Steve Marley, who was born on April 20, 1972.
420 youth in my youth. Yeah? 420 youth.
So,
the significance of 420.
420? What's the significance?
Weed.
Yeah.
That's when marijuana was legalized.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
420.
Okay. And then she had a 5th child, Stephanie Marley, who was born on the 17th of August, 1974. Of course, this child wasn't Bob's child. It was Ital Stewart's child. But again, Bob gave her his name. He adopted her. And it just, a lot of people
shows his magnanimity.
And then she had her 6th child born, Rita Stewart, who was born on August 11 of 1985. What is that? 4 years after
August 11. I heard you
after Bob had transitioned. But I want us to go back to the point you made earlier. Although I'll be kind of quiet. Bob was a good youth, because not a whole heap of man, Jamaican man especially, would have done what he did, because not only did he adopt her first child, who he would have not known too much about, but when she went off the track, he still maintained and adopted that child too. And so for a lot of people who have all kind of uncomplimentary remarks pass about how these people live their lives, until you walk a mile in a man's shoes, you're not in a position to say no, right? Because you don't know what were the forces that drove these people. And clearly there was a lot more than just these, what we call, emotional relationships that glued them together.
Connection with the woman. No, I say he had a deep spiritual connection. Plus, they've been coming up from they were kids, teenagers.
Yeah, they knew each other as kids, and so that there was a certain amount of bonding.
Yes, so the thing there.
And nothing can separate that. And Rita spoke about it in her own way. It's clear that there were challenges, and she was not afraid to speak to those challenges. But be that as it may, they would, she survived it, and today look at what the family has become. The family is without doubt. I hear it was Foota Hype. I see who had a video where you talked about the Mali Empire, and that a lot of the people who are offering criticisms, and this is one of the first times that I will say I agree with Foota Hype in terms of his position. But said there are other artists who have the basis, the foundation on which they themselves could have built an empire. But rather than focus on that, they were focusing on the side issues.
It's not easy building and maintaining that monster of a business that the Tough Gang International has become. You know, back in the day, almost every single record which was sold from certain entities and labels into the Caribbean had to come through Tough Gang because the two major distributors for the Caribbean are Dynamic Sounds,
And
Byron Lee, and Tough Gang. Unless, of course, we brought it in directly and customs not catch it. But, again, 1981, big year for Rita. And one of the songs that I liked from that album, the title track, Who Feels It Knows It. I tell you, Richie, the sweetest part of this song is the skit. What the weird now.
Give me some rhythm. But again, this is a song that in its own right, a big tune.
No, this song, 1981 into 82, every party, every Christmas party.
It was the biggest song.
I was working at NCR and Christmas party of 1982, and this song, the party was at the Courtland Hotel, and this song played about 6 times for the night, if not more. You know what I like? The names of the students: Smokey, Herbie, and Mila.
Mila said to me,
all pseudonyms for marijuana.
Yeah, these guys
creativity, man. Rob Cooper at his best, and of course, the Wailers, 1981 into 82, and she had some other big hits, Richie Harambe and Good Girls Culture, which I think that's a cover version of one of Bob's songs. I think she called it Good Girl Culture, but there was another name that was used. And of course, I have to play the I3's Ode to Bob Marley, his legend, And of course, Neighbor, which is a nice little funk disco beat,
In 1986, 5 years after Bob transition, she decided to convert the Bob Marley home at 56 Hope Road into the Bob Marley Museum. Rita has basically served as the founder and the chairperson of the Robert Marley Foundation, Bob Marley Trust, and the Bob Marley Group of Companies. So again, she was the subject of a lot of criticism when she took on this role. But again, it speaks to her own vision, her own ability to look at what they would have created in those 20 years.
Was not going to sit down
and allow it to just frit out.
Forces come in and take years of work.
And so she basically took the mantle of what all of the different the moving pieces of what would have been appended to Robert Nesta Marley, and she basically molded all of them into the Bob Marley Group of Companies, and she has basically steered that ship. The other thing too that you wanna pay attention to that seems lost or is not even a part of the discourse relative to the Marleys is also the fact that the kids, if you remember when Marley died, Ziggy would have been what? It was
like 16, 17.
It was 16 or 17 years old.
15, 16.
Right. And so for him to over time become a successful musician. You may not like the music that he produced, but
the man is an artist.
For a while, he was the major name, the major
Ziggy Marley and the melody
that carried his father's name.
I tell you this, around 1983, if I'm not mistaken, I missed something here.
And while you're looking at that, she created the Rita Marley Foundation, as I say, in 2000, a non-government, not-for-profit, and non-partisan organization that works to alleviate poverty and hunger in developing countries. So it's not even that this entity is about Jamaica per se. And again, a lot of Jamaicans gave the Marleys a rough time. You know, it's bad enough that they never really appreciated them while they were building, laying the foundation for what became their music. But even afterwards, the country, a lot of Jamaicans basically still looked down. They still regarded Marley as a dotted Rasta boy.
I know the worst thing about it. A lot of the people have opinions. Never bought a Baba.
Well, that is
never bought a Baba.
That's a horse of an entirely different color. I know too that, and it must hurt as a family because they felt that clearly they would have felt that they were making a solid contribution to building Jamaica's reputation, even while they were building their own business portfolio. But you know, it took the country a while to recognize
and embrace.
In 1996, the government conferred the Order of Distinction. This would have been clearly 1996, a PNP administration at the time, for her contribution to the development of Jamaican music and culture. 1996, Bob would have been dead 15 years earlier. Herself would have been in the business for 30 years before there was any recognition. Okay, go back to 1996 is 1966 that she was standing in as a itinerant member of the Wailers. So it took the country 30 years to recognize the value that she would have made.
Yeah? And to a certain extent, where reggae music is concerned, the government has not even recognized them. They recognize. But there is a song that came on the Harambe album, the title song, Harambe. Yeah, man. And she goes on to say Harambe means different things. But what the point I was going to make earlier, Richie, was I had the opportunity to witness, before meeting them personally, Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers at the Tasty Talent Contest. It was a contest, but they were the headline act in Crossroads. And the song that stood out for me the most at the time when they did it was Aiding and Abetting Rastafari. And trust me, that was bad show.
But before you play that,
I'm going to play it.
I just wanna to fill in some of the blanks because Rita has quietly collected, emphasis on quietly over time. There's some attempts at some recognition. In 2010, she was conferred with the prestigious Marcus Garvey Lifetime Achievement Award. So, then a little bit of crack in the door, if you will. In 1996, prior to that, 1996 was the first observation, if you will, and recognition with the Order of Distinction. And so it was 2010, 14 years after, Marcus Garvey Award. And on the 3rd of August of 2013, she was made an honorary citizen of Ghana because by that time now they had basically repatriated to Ghana and made an honorary citizen after living there in Ghana for a number of years. In November of 2015, she was awarded the Honorary Doctor of Letters by the University of the West Indies. And in 2017, she received her second honorary doctorate degree from the University of Fort Hare in South Africa. Of course, she suffered a stroke a year before that in 2016.
Hi there. If you enjoyed that clip, go on over to our website at yardmedia.com where you can watch the entire broadcast at your leisure. And while you're there, why don't you check out our other reggae music features? And before you leave, pick up some of our Jamaican reggae merchandise and hey, don't forget to tell your friends.